I voted mid-season, and I feel kind of bad about that because it's the most like moving goalpost vote where you could say that
anywhere
that's,
week 2 to week 17.
Exactly. It's really the
right in the middle.
definition of middling it. But I think that's where they're headed. First of all, like if I had to make a prediction today, judging by what they're doing in practices, they're still not having Drake Maye run with the ones, which just is mind-blowing to me. I don't understand it. To me, it's such a waste of time. And what it's telling you while they're simultaneously in press conferences telling you it's a quarterback competition. We don't know who our starting quarterback is going to be week 1. I don't buy any of that. I think that they're showing you day in and day out while the media still has full access down at training camp that they plan to roll with Jacoby Brissett. So in all senses of it, I think you should expect to see Drake Maye at some point after week 1, some point in that week 2 to 16 of the entire season. Or that you just, I also think it is kind of the best thing for him at this point because they're not giving him the opportunities that I think that he deserves at this point in training camp, where the opportunity to run with the ones, to build chemistry, not just with his receivers and the timing that should be there by the time that you get into a real NFL game, but build communication and build communication with the offensive line that you assume that he's going to be playing with. And you've got 20 days until the first day of the actual season, the first game. And you've really got 2 weeks because you're going to treat that week leading up to it mostly as game prep and install. And I just don't see them fast forwarding him that much. And I think if they did, they really haven't given him the chance that they could already.
Okay. Mego wants mid-season. Again, moving goalpost. Pick your time.
So boring. She's so boring. Why doesn't she just have an opinion?
You can weigh in there on Mego, voting for mid-season. Arkan, how'd you vote?
I voted starts week 1. We're talking about the best outcome for Drake Maye. I think the best outcome is this week or beyond, whatever it takes here. Certainly by Sunday, we would think that he wins the starting job. Like he goes out there and he dazzles in the rest of these practices and the walkthrough, and then goes out there on Sunday against Washington and has a great game and makes it undeniable that he has to be the starter and that starting Jacoby Brissett would just not work for the fans, not work for ownership, not work for the other players in the locker room, even though he's a veteran. If he goes out there and he's so good that they can't deny it, that it's just, all right, the decision's being made for us here. We can't keep this kid on the bench. That's the best outcome for Drake Maye, I think. I don't see how, even if you think that he hasn't gotten along with the ones enough, and I do agree with that, Mego. I don't think that he has played with them enough. I think he should play with them. But just because he hasn't, I don't think that necessarily means the best outcome would be for him to sit. I think that he should be playing right away. I think that he should be out there making his mistakes, learning about the NFL, and getting big plays under his belt, just that type of stuff that builds confidence and gets you going in your career. I don't really see any point in starting midseason. I hate the idea of a redshirt year. The best outcome is that he balls out and wins the job and that no one can deny it.
Okay. Hold on, really quick. How do you not see any point in starting him mid-season? As we said, that could be anywhere from week 2 to week 17.
If it's week 2, then why not be week 1? What's the difference?
What about week 6?
What about week 6?
I'd rather he started week 1. You don't think that there's any value to him playing for 10 weeks?
No, I think that he should start week 1. I don't see any value in him waiting until week 6.
I'm sort of with Arkan on this. Like, if he starts week 6, he probably could have started week 1. And if you're not starting him until week 14 after the bye week or whenever it is, then you probably should have just sat him the whole year. So to me, look, I think the best outcome is absolutely week 1. I've said that about every quarterback ever, and I believe that. I don't just believe that about Drake Maye. I believe that about your guy, Jaden Daniels, and Caleb Williams, and Bo Nix, and all these. I believe that about all these quarterbacks. Like, Penix, they drafted Penix 8. They probably shouldn't have signed Kirk Cousins. He should be starting year 1. And so I'd say that about any quarterback anywhere, not just here. And I have said that for years.
Injured.
Okay, J.J. McCarthy injured, different story.
Okay.
But J.J. McCarthy, I think, would have won that job, probably should have won that job and started early, even with their brutal start to the year. They have a tough schedule. The Patriots really don't in terms of the defenses they go against. Seattle and Cincinnati, not great defenses. Jets are a really good defense. San Fran's the only scary one, I think, in the first month, and that's not a reason to sit him down. To me, I don't think. And so week 1, I'm a broken record on this. You know how I was going to vote. You guys can vote on the phone, 617-779-7937, or at Jones and Mego in our big question of the day. It's up now there on Twitter. 2 things. I don't think it's just about Drake Maye. If Jacoby Brissett continues to look, all due respect, you guys talked to him yesterday, I didn't. If he continues to look as terrible as he's looked awful. Is he? I don't have the numbers in front of me. Isn't he something like 3 of 10 for 17 yards and a pick? Something like that? That's
in the second preseason
game. In that game, yeah.
Oh, that was just in that game. I thought that was combined. So it's even worse then.
That was in the second preseason game.
Did he complete a pass in the first game?
That's the combined total I saw.
I think
that's
because he
both
only
games?
had
Maybe
one.
it's both
Because he only had
games.
one series in the opener.
That sounded like his stats just from the second game, but it could be both. Yeah.
Whatever. If someone could look them up, I don't have them in front of me. It was something like that.
Yeah, he was
off the top of
0
my
for
head.
3 in the first.
He
one,
stunk. He's been terrible. And so it's not just about Drake Maye. If Brissett looks broken and Brissett's throwing brutal picks like he did, it's a little bit about him as well. The only other thing that I would say about this breakdown, do you think, Mego, there's still time? Meaning the preseason game this weekend, if he starts getting reps with the top offensive line, is there still time for him to start week 1?
It comes down to what the agreement is between the coaching staff and ownership. If ownership is looking at this, like, dude, does ownership have an agreement of, hey, Gerard, it's your first time doing this. We're going to be a little bit hands-off with the quarterback position because you trust Alex Van Pelt and Ben McAdoo, and you guys are going to make this decision all together, and we're going to be hands-off at least for the first month. But if it comes down to they're in the final preseason game and there's it's a real push because it's so clear Drake Maye completes that pass to Javon Baker or something equivalent to that. He has a pass in the red zone that actually becomes a touchdown pass. Things that this team hasn't seen, that fans haven't seen very much of over the last 2.5 years. Then I think it starts having pressure from ownership we have to fast track this kid. Why are you so slow with him?
Why are we
Is this
talking about
really the
ownership?
right plan?
I'm asking about the offensive line. You talked about the offensive line. You said he's not getting reps with the offensive line. I'm asking you if there's still time and he gets reps with the offensive line in the final preseason game, will that change your mind? Do you think there's still time he can start week 1?
I think there is. I just don't think they will. I don't think it comes down to what he shows you in the preseason game. I think it comes down to whether they veer from the plan that they have him on.
But
I'm talking about ownership because I'm sure that they talked to ownership about the plan of how they're going to develop this in conjunction with the front office and the first-time head coach.
But putting him with that O-line, that would speak to a change in the plan, wouldn't it?
Yes, and I don't think that they will change their
but
plan.
I'm saying
it's too late.
But if they do, that sets off alarm bells, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I have a whole separate take, by the way, about the beat writers. If Drake Maye is starting week 1, I don't think they know what they're looking at down there, quite frankly. Like, I'm going to start to question if they know what they're watching. Last year, they were telling me how great Mac Jones looked, and it's not a competition with him and Zappy. The whole thing with if Drake Maye wins this competition, I'm going to wonder. I'm going to start to wonder about that because all of it was that it's not even close. It's not a competition. We still have beat writers saying, and we'll play some of them later on in the program, Bedard's won. It's not a competition. So, like, I'm going to start to wonder if they really know what they're watching down there, if Maye's out there week 1.
But there's different definitions of that argument that it's not a competition. I'm saying it's not a competition because I don't think they're giving Drake a real shot to have it be a competition.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying it's not a competition because Drake's nowhere near Jacoby Brissett. I'm saying if it's a competition, it's an extremely rigged one towards Jacoby Brissett starting week 1 because that's what they're comfortable with.